commence primary ignition.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Fire the emergency booster engines!
We'll be safe enough once we make the jump to hyperspace.
At last, we will review more news on the podcast.
Don't strap yourselves in. I'm going to make a jump to light speed.
Welcome to Star Wars Launchpad, a new kind of podcast experience brought to you by Star Wars Escape Pod. We call this a Flashcast. Using the power of AI, we bring you an immersive experience to explore Star Wars news. Full AI disclosure, some details may not be fully accurate. Either way, we hope you enjoy the experimental deep dive ahead with your AI hosts, Dak and Mia.
Welcome to Star Wars Launchpad, brought to you by Star Wars Escape Pod. I'm Doc.
And I'm Mia. Today we're launching into quite an extensive review.
We're looking at Alexander Freed's novel, The Mask of Fear. It's part of the Reign of the Empire series.
And it really just throws us right into that super volatile time, immediately after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, the fall of the Republic, you see the Empire rising, chillingly fast, really.
And those very first, maybe hesitant sparks of what will become the rebellion.
So we're going to be unpacking not just the plot, but digging into what this story tells us about this critical gap.
Right, that bridge between the prequels and what we see later in Rogue One and Andor.
And we'll touch on Alexander Freed himself, because he has such a distinct voice in Star Wars, doesn't he?
Oh, definitely. Very gritty, morally complex, doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Exactly. So our mission today, really, is to go beyond just summarizing the book.
Mm-hmm. We want to pull out the most fascinating insights from The Mask of Fear.
We'll hit those core themes. Fear under the Empire, the whole desperate search for truth when propaganda is everywhere.
The political games, the high stakes of just trying to survive, let alone resist.
And the cost. The immense personal cost of even the earliest acts of defiance.
Yeah, get ready for some maybe surprising takes on characters you think you know.
And the really shadowy beginnings of the Rebel Alliance. It wasn't exactly organized from day one.
Not at all. The Mask of Fear really sits right in that pressure cooker moment, doesn't it?
Immediately after Palpatine declares the New Order. That chaos when the Republic is just gone.
Violently dismantled, the Jedi hunted, the Empire is still figuring out its grip, but it's tightening fast.
The galaxy is basically reeling from trauma.
It's a profoundly dangerous time, and Freed just nails that tension right from the start.
And the structure, dawn, day, dusk, night, it's clever.
It is. It's not just time passing, it's showing the darkness escalating.
Right. You feel the Empire solidifying its control while these tiny pockets of defiance start to flicker.
Like the noose tightening with each section.
And woven through it all, these interconnected stories. Mon Mothma on Coruscant.
Trying to play the political game, but the Senate's basically toothless. And she knows she's being watched.
Meanwhile, Bail Organa is out on the fringes, driven by, his conscience.
Trying to find out what really happened to the Jedi.
Plus, these new characters. Sujan Vaknalis, Haki Ziafreen.
Yeah, they bring totally different perspectives to this new Imperial era, each grappling with it in their own way.
Okay, so let's get into part one, Dawn. We start with Bail on Jade Hut.
Right, a place already heavy with history, and now scarred by the Purge.
He's not just mourning, he's actively looking for allies, anyone questioning the official story.
And surprisingly, he actually finds an Imperial admiral who seems skeptical about the Jedi intel.
Yeah, which is interesting. It suggests maybe not everyone in the early Empire bought the official line wholesale.
But that hope is immediately crushed, isn't it? The bombing on Jada.
Ugh, yeah. A brutal reminder. Dissent will not be tolerated. Sets the tone. Fear is the tool.
And back on Coruscant, Mon Mothma is walking this impossible tightrope.
The siege, the end of the Republic, it's all still raw. The fear on Coruscant is thick.
That scene with the Imperial news droids grilling her, it's chilling. Shows the Empire's control over information right from the get-go.
And Senator Luke Maroy whispering warnings about surveillance, especially anyone tied to the delegation of 2000.
It shows the Empire's paranoia was immediate. They weren't just taking power, they were silencing potential opposition before it could even form.
So the Senate is just a shadow of its former self, a rubber stamp.
Then Freed throws in Sushan Vaknalis, this cybernetic separatist operative.
Pulled out of stasis from the Clone Wars into a galaxy he doesn't recognize.
Where his old enemies won, basically. And who finds him? Saw Gerrera.
Of course. Sojan just embodies that lingering bitterness, the trauma of the Clone Wars that hasn't gone away.
He's driven by pure vengeance against the Republic, which is now the Empire. He's a product of the war's brutality.
And Saw is absolutely exploiting that rage, right? Using him to find some hidden separatist weapons cache.
Definitely. It shows how old wounds are just being manipulated in this new Imperial order. No peace.
And Bail, getting nowhere on Coruscant, takes this massive risk.
Dives into the underworld to find Den Dallo, the master forger.
He's desperate for proof the Jedi were framed. It's incredibly tense.
And then he gets rescued by Imperial intelligence, Haki Zeofryan and her apprentice Kemish.
Which immediately makes you go, wait, what's her angle?
Haki is fascinating. She's Imperial intelligence, but she's clearly got her own game plan.
The way she subtly steers Bail, suggesting the forgeries might be separatist.
Yeah, indicates a long game. Maybe her loyalty isn't quite with the Emperor. Espionage, hidden resistance, maybe?
It creates immediate distrust. You question everyone. Then Mon tries to rally the delegation of 2000.
Proposing that Imperial Rebirth Act seems harmless, but her goal is to salvage some Senate influence.
But it clashes directly with Bail's mission. Clear the Jedi's name.
And that disagreement fractures their potential alliance. Bail walks away.
It highlights a key thing. Even the people opposing the Empire aren't unified. They have different priorities, different methods.
It's a pivotal moment. Shows how fragmented the early resistance was. No easy answers.
And Sujan's story takes a turn too. He finds out Tychon Novolio, a former separatist leader,
is collaborating with the Empire. A massive betrayal for Sujan.
It just cements his personal vendetta, right? Makes him ditch Saw's broader goals.
Exactly. Personal revenge becomes this incredibly powerful motivator.
So Dawn ends with everyone on converging paths. Mon gets that cryptic invite from Novolio,
hinting at dangerous political games. And Haki, grieving her aide Zuna, is stuck on a mission with Bail.
Sets the stage perfectly for part 2, Day. More alliances, more betrayals.
And Day dives right in. Mom meeting Novolio secretly after Zuna's funeral.
And she's feeding false intel to the ISB, implicating Bail and Lud Maroi.
Wow. Shows how high stakes your game has become.
Oh,
one wrong move.
This disaster. That meeting with Novolio and the other ex-separatists, it's like a trial for her.
She has to justify everything, convince them her Imperial Rebirth Act serves their interests somehow.
Getting their tentative support is huge, shows her cunning. But then Novolio drops that bombshell.
The self-destruct mechanism hidden in agents like Sujan, triggered by keywords.
Oh man, that adds a ticking clock to everything involving Sujan.
Huge sense of urgency. Meanwhile, Bail and Hawoki are off chasing Bonaruas, the separatist spy master.
On Olcrastris IV. And what they find is just deception. Body doubles. Hawoki's own agents purged.
Shows the ruthlessness on all sides. Separatist remnants, the Empire. Trust is gone.
And Hawoki secretly takes out the real Ruiz after getting a lead.
To a Techno-Union operative involved in the forgeries, which leads them to Eodageritz.
This fossilized city planet, supposedly holding a big separatist cache. Classic Star Wars adventure feel, but dark.
And guess who else is heading there?
Let me guess. Sujan and Saw's partisans?
You got it. A collision course.
Right.
Everyone wants something from that cache.
So Bail and Haki walk right into it and get captured. Their search for truth hits another wall.
Inside the cache, Sujan learns more about his own augmentations.
Including the self-destruct protocols. Horrifying.
But then, the big reveal. He tells Bail he has the forged Jedi documents, the proof Bail needs.
It should be victory, but
It's Star Wars. Imperials arrive, trapping everyone.
and Heki tries to kill Sujan to stop the intel getting out.
Yeah, desperate move. It triggers chaos, the battle, Saw's demolitions.
Causes a massive flood, destroys most of Eodageritz, scatters everyone. Brutal.
And just when you think it can't get worse, Mon gets arrested back on Coruscant.
Her diversion tactic totally backfired. She's vulnerable.
Day ends with everyone scattered, alliance is broken, Empire looking stronger than ever.
Okay, dusk, the fallout from Eodageritz. Sujan and Bail escape the flood.
Barely. But Sorjan insists on going to his destroyed homeworld, Yelagia.
Adds that personal tragedy, right? Fuels his rage even more. Shows the human cost.
And Halaki survives too, somehow, only to realize the clones are hunting her.
Betrayed by the empire she served. Nowhere is safe. Shows the regime's ruthlessness.
Back on Coruscant, things are tense. Protests against separatist reintegration.
And Sujan takes Bail hostage to navigate the lockdown. Desperate times.
Totally. Meanwhile, Mon's interrogation, it's harrowing.
She has to fabricate an affair with Lud Maroi just to get released. The compromises.
Immense. But she survives. She meets Bail, also freed, and they strike an uneasy deal.
Bail agrees to push Mon's Imperial Rebirth Act, using the Io Dajris disaster as cover.
Yeah, framing Sujin as the terrorist. It's a lie to achieve a political goal. Deeply gray area.
And Sujin, now a fugitive, gets a coded message from Novolio. He sees it as his chance for revenge.
But Mon is also arranging to meet him, armed with those self-destruct keywords.
This is getting complicated. A diddly game of cat and mouse.
And Chemish, Hakaki's apprentice, steps up, infiltrates the pro-Empire 4040s group.
And helps Mon escape them.
Wow.
Shows Chemish's commitment, finding her own path.
Leads to that tense meeting, Mon and Sujin in the ruins of Coruscant.
Sujin declares he's going to assassinate Palpatine. Just like that.
Shows the depth of his despair, his hatred, and Mon reluctantly agrees to guide him.
While planning to use the keywords, the moral complexity is staggering.
You feel the tension build as they approach the executive center. Mon keeps saying the trigger word, sublime.
And then, detonation, Sujin explodes, massive blast.
Bail sees it on the news, thinks his chance to expose Palpatine is gone. Saw Gerrera sees it as escalation, serving his cause.
Just highlights how fractured everything is. Even destruction serves different agendas.
In the aftermath, Bail gives that powerful speech in the Senate.
Powerful, but completely fabricated. Sujin, the lone terrorist, Maul the martyr, Saw blamed for Io Dajris.
And the Imperial Rebirth Act passes. A victory built entirely on lies. Pyrrhic, really.
You see who votes for it? Federico, Clades, a conflicted Moroi. Tells you a lot.
And Saw. Now he's officially the Empire's most wanted, but he's just getting started.
Dusk ends, lines drawn, the cost of fighting back terrifyingly clear.
Which brings us to Night. The immediate consequences. Karama, one of Saw's people.
Bomb Center 1, an Imperial re-education facility. Horrific. Shows the descent into terrorism.
The cycle of violence escalating under Imperial rule.
Mon recovers, but she has cybernetic replacements now. A physical reminder of the cost.
And she gets summoned by Mazamida, who reveals the Empire's Century Plan.
For total societal control, including those re-education centers.
It brutally puts her political victory into perspective. It's almost symbolic against the scale of the Empire's true plans.
That meeting on Fothrol, Mon, Bail, Saw, ruined world.
Significant moment. They represent the different faces of resistance, right? Politics, Jedi hope, armed insurgency.
But it's not an alliance, just an uneasy understanding, acknowledging their different, maybe incompatible paths.
And Bail returns to Alderaan, focuses on family. Leia steps back from the Jedi quests.
A shift in priorities. Maybe resignation, maybe protecting what's left. Poignant.
Saw, though, he doubles down, recruiting, aiding marginalized groups like the Haramis clan. Still radical.
And Haki reunites with Chemish. Fugitives now. Haki offers to finish Chemish's spy training.
They're forging their own path in the shadows. Chemish wants answers about Zuna, links between the 4040s and ISB.
And the novel ends quietly, doesn't it? Mon with her husband, Perrin.
Yeah, grappling with her compromises, accepting the dark path ahead. She's changed.
So different from the senator we met at the start. The fight changes you.
Absolutely. And Freed gives these characters such depth. Let's dig into Mon Mothma more.
She starts as this pragmatic idealist, right? Already weary from Republic politics.
But that arrest, the dark place, as she calls it, it fundamentally changes her, forges the steel inside her.
Strips away illusions. She knows working within the system purely ethically isn't enough anymore.
The Imperial Rebirth Act starts hopeful, but becomes this tool of deception, shows her accepting grim reality.
Her clashes with Bail over the Jedi really highlight that tension. Idealism versus pragmatism.
And her compromises weigh on her. Her role in Sujin's death, it leaves scars. Guilt, hypocrisy.
That internal conflict makes her so compelling. It explains the burden she carries later.
Exactly. It shapes her into the leader we see in Andor and Rogue One. Resolute, but so weary.
Mas Amedda's revelation just cements it. She knows the true scale of the fight now, pushes her towards open rebellion eventually.
And Bail Organa. He's driven by justice, loyalty to the Jedi, that public intensity.
But maybe a bit reckless sometimes. That underworld trip.
Yeah, and maybe initially a little naive about how fast and total the Empire's grip would be.
The novel definitely erodes that. He confronts the harsh reality. His interactions with Haki show his desperation for allies, even risky ones.
Finding the forged Jedi documents should be a win, but it just becomes another dangerous pawn in the game.
Io Dajris is a brutal wake-up call for him. The violence, the destruction.
And participating in the lie about Sujin for the Rebirth Act?
Yeah.
That's a huge moral compromise for Bail. Painful.
You feel the toll it takes. His decision to focus on Alderaan and Leia feels necessary for him. protecting his family, his future.
Even if we know how tragically that ends, adds another layer.
Then Sujan, such a tragic figure, literally built for vengeance by the Clone Wars.
Wakes up, causes lost. All he has left is that programmed hate for the Republic Empire.
He's lethal, but his interactions are all transactional, fueled by resentment.
Finding out his clan was destroyed on Eulagia, that just pushes him over the edge.
Seals his fate. The assassination attempt on Palpatine is all that matters, shows the consuming nature of trauma and revenge.
And Saw Gerrera. This book is crucial for understanding him later.
We see the transformation. Onron Freedom Fighter 2, something much darker.
He's manipulative, charismatic in a dangerous way, preys on the disillusioned.
But you sense the cruelty, the scars underneath. He's not just tactical, he's damaged.
Eodadgeritz, the Center One bombing, they show his ruthlessness escalating. Ends justify any means for him.
Definitely lays the groundwork for the paranoid extremist in Andor and Rogue One.
And we can't forget Haki and Kemish, operating in the shadows.
Haki starts as Imperial intel, but her loyalty to her agents, like Kamish's brother, conflicts with the Empire's cold calculus.
She gets disillusioned, realizes the Empire betrayed her.
Her trying to kill Sujan wasn't malice, maybe, but fear of more chaos. A desperate act.
Going on the run with Kemish marks her break. And Kemish finds purpose and loss.
Grief drives her, connects her to Hekaki. She gets drawn into the spy game.
Infiltrating the 4040s, helping Mon escape, that's brave. Shows her commitment growing.
Together, they represent those unseen individuals caught in the gears, finding their own way to resist.
It's amazing how well Mask of Fear bridges the eras. The links to Andor are so strong.
Oh yeah, the architecture of oppression, the surveillance Mon feels. It's exactly the atmosphere in Andor.
That constant fear, self-censorship, stifling opposition before it starts.
And the moral ambiguity of rebellion. No clean hands. Mon's compromises, Bael's lies, Saw's extremism.
It mirrors Andor's complexity perfectly. Fighting tyranny takes a toll, forces terrible choices.
You see the radicalization happen. Like Cassian. Characters like Mon, Sujan, Haki are pushed by the Empire's brutality.
Oppression fuels resistance, forces people down paths they never intended.
And the parallels to Rogue One, also clear. Mon Mothma here.
Is becoming that burdened leader. The pressure, the losses shape her weary resolve in the film.
Bael is already the principled founder. His commitment, his challenges to Palpatine, his alliance building.
All foreshadow his role in the Rebel Alliance. Yeah. And his focus on Alderaan becomes even more tragic knowing Rogue One.
And Saw. This book explains the Rogue One Saw. His extremism, his isolation. It's rooted here.
The trauma, the paranoia, it makes his later portrayal understandable, tragic.
Okay, let's quickly hit those top 10 defining moments, the real highlights.
Bail on Jada first, sets the tone. Loss, search for truth.
Sujan awakening. The wild card enters the game.
Mon's dark place shows the Empire's brutality and her resilience.
Saw and Sujan's uneasy alliance sets up the Eodadgeritz conflict.
Mon's trial by the Separatists, political maneuvering under pressure.
The destruction of Eodadgeritz, Saw's extremism, catastrophic consequences.
Sujan on Eulagia, the personal tragedy fueling his final act.
Mon activating Sujan's self-destruct. Huge moral crossroads.
Bael's speech for the Imperial Rebirth Act, victory through deception, and the Forthrall Conference. Mon, Bael, Saw, acknowledging different paths of resistance.
So critical review time, strengths. Definitely character depth. Mon, Bael, Sujan are fantastic.
Agreed. And the political nuance, early empire, surveillance, coalition building freed, nails it.
Thematic complexity too. Truth, power, compromise, resilience. It's got layers.
Weaknesses, maybe pacing in spots, the political stuff, internal thoughts, can feel dense sometimes.
Yeah, and it might be complex for casual readers. Lots of plots, characters, factions. It demands attention.
But overall, highly recommended, especially if you appreciate the mature storytelling of Andor and Rogue One.
Absolutely. It's an excellent bridge, gives so much context for the rebellion's origins and these key figures.
Rewarding if you like deep character dives and intricate politics in your Star Wars.
What an incredible journey through the Mask of Fear. It's just fascinating seeing those fragile, messy beginnings of the rebellion.
Yeah, sown in such a dangerous, morally gray landscape.
Totally. Alexander Freed paints such a vivid, unflinching picture of the early empire.
And the impossible choices facing people who would later become heroes.
Understanding their origins here, the sacrifices, it makes their actions in Rogue One and Andor hit even harder, doesn't it?
Definitely adds layers. For you, our listener, we really hope this review has maybe shed some new light on this crucial time.
Or maybe sparked an interest in picking up the Mask of Fear yourself. What stood out most to you about this early resistance?
Yeah, what questions do you still have about this period right after the Republic fell?
Think about Mon Mothma's burden, Bail Organa's conviction against all odds, Saw Gerrera's tragic spiral.
Their stories in The Mask of Fear are such a powerful reminder, even facing overwhelming tyranny.
The fight for freedom, no matter how messy or compromised, starts with individuals making incredibly difficult choices.
Well said. Until our next launch into the Star Wars galaxy.
May the Force be with you.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
This AI experimental show we call a Flashcast has been brought to you by the podcast Star Wars Escape Pod. With AI being harnessed in all things across the galaxy, this is just a fun way we've used it to bring some Star Wars joy, news, and headlines to you ad-free as always. Consider subscribing to this show for more. Follow our main podcast with humanoids only over at Star Wars Escape Pod. We're currently found on YouTube, X, and Blue Sky using the handle at SW Escape Podcast. Check the description for relevant links and the sources for your news this week. Consider dropping a kind review for the show, reviewing any important facts for yourself, and sharing this with a friend. We hope you enjoyed the episode. This is Star Wars Launchpad, signing off. May the Force be with you.